Yeah. This blind man had working eyes now, but he still couldn't see. That's how the disciples look. But the first thing he does is he leads them out of the city. Now watch this. What city is that? Bethsaida, right? Look at Matthew chapter 11, verse number 20. It says, then began he, talking about Jesus, to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done. Why? Because they repented not. So Jesus went on a spree preaching against certain cities where he did most of his miracles, because even though he did his miracles there, it didn't count. They didn't change. They saw the miracle but missed the message. Right? Well, what cities did he have a problem with? He says, woe unto thee, Chorazin. Woe unto thee what? Bethsaida. He had a problem with Bethsaida because he had done several miracles in Bethsaida. But even though he did miracle after miracle in Bethsaida, they didn't change. They didn't honor him. They didn't see him as Lord. They didn't recognize him as God. So Jesus had a problem with Bethsaida. So when they bring the people in Bethsaida, bring a man to him for Jesus to give them another one, Jesus takes that man away from Bethsaida as if saying, I'm going to heal you, but these folk don't deserve to see me do for you what I'm about to do for you, because when I heal you, it ain't going to count. So he takes him out of Bethsaida and he moves him away and he heals him there. Well, I've come to tell you that there are some people that get nothing out of your testimony. There are some people that you be wasting your time talking about what God has done for you, talking about how he delivered you, because it ain't going to matter anyway. There are some people who God will deliver over and over and over again, but it's not going to count. And I believe that every now and then God says, I'm going to fix you, but she don't need to see what I'm going to do for you, because it's not going to make a difference with her. She's not going to understand your praise. She's not going to understand your joy. She's not going to understand your shout. She doesn't appreciate what I did for her, so she's not going to appreciate what I'm about to do for you. Y'all see that? He moves him away. Go ahead, Doc. You sit down. How you feeling up there, Brother Hines? All right. So he moves him away from the place that didn't want to see him necessarily healed. They just wanted to see another miracle. You see this? Now watch this. I'm almost finished. Look at this text. Back in Mark. After he heals him, the Bible says he sees all men clearly. So Jesus' miracle is giving a message about several people are getting a message. There are different messages from one miracle. To Bethsaida, he's saying, you don't deserve to see me do this again. You don't deserve to see me do this again. I've gotten no credit for anything I've done in Bethsaida. And we need to be careful as people of God that we give God glory and remember what he did. And stop making God prove himself over and over and over again and make him prove. We make God perform. Lord, you got to do it, Lord. You got to do it again. If you do it this time, do it this. At some point, we got to get that God doesn't need to do that to be who he is. God is the only person that remains a healer even if he doesn't heal. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He doesn't have to keep on providing to be a provider. If he doesn't provide for you this time, it doesn't make him any less a provider than who he is. And we make God perform sometimes. So God said, you know what? You ain't gave me glory for the last thing I did for you. I'm moving this situation out of your eye view. So he did this to this man. And he heals him. And he tells him in verse number 26. This is beautiful, y'all. And this is going to be the practical application. He says, first of all, it was restored. He saw everything clear. He sent them away to where? Apparently, this man was not from Bethsaida. it's implied in the text that this man was not a citizen of that little town.
Right.
Because he said when he sent them to his house, don't go back into this town. However, this man ended up blind must have took place
Come on.
in Bethsaida.
Come on, man.
Don't miss the message. I don't get it. However, he ended up having to depend on people. Must have took place in Bethsaida. Jesus was not just healing him. He was relocating him. A lot of us want healing without relocation. We want to hang around the same people. Be around the same crowd that's doing the same thing, but we want the Lord to heal us. But sometimes God has to remove us from the environment that got us sick in the first place. He says, go home. Don't go back to the town. And then he says, don't even tell them. Why? Because they know what I can do. And it don't mean anything to them. You don't have to go prove to them that you can see again. They won't care. You don't have to go show them that you're no longer depending on the public. They don't care. Don't go back to where I'm bringing you from. That's how you got in trouble in the first place. And all of us have a Bethsaida that we got crippled in, a Bethsaida that we got in trouble in, a Bethsaida where we became handicapped, a Bethsaida where we cried, a Bethsaida where we prayed, Lord, deliver me. And I've come to tell you tonight, when the Lord takes you and relocates you from the place of your degradation, by no means, for no reason, don't go back to Bethsaida. Bethsaida could be the relationship you got in that brought your confidence in. You used to be so confident and walk so tall. You get in this relationship and now here you are blind and you got to depend on people now that you never had to depend on before. God is going to get you out of that. But he says, when I get you out, he was no doubt in Bethsaida a fixture. He was a fixture. There are certain neighborhoods in Dallas that, I have certain neighbors that are not finishers, so they'll be working on a car. Right? In the driveway. Car doesn't move. You know? Sitting on 4 cinder blocks. Y'all know anybody like that? Is that just Dallas or Indiana, right? Right? And your neighbor supposedly is going to get back. I'll get to it. You know, 1 week turns into 2 weeks. 2 weeks turn into months. And that car becomes a fixture there. You know what you do with that car? Burn it up. Yeah, that's what you should do. That's what you should do. But if you live next to this man and you're giving somebody direction to your house, you say, pass the house, there's going to be a blue car in the driveway. That ain't my house. I live on the right side. Y'all can do that? Because you get so used to seeing it there that the only thing it's good for is identifying how to get somewhere else. Jesus was going to change this man's life. He was no longer going to be a fixture that sat there blind and begging. He was going to change his whole life so that when people came through Bethsaida and the citizens of Bethsaida who were used to seeing him sitting there would feel like something was missing. And I'm here tonight to tell you, when Jesus moves you, somebody ought to feel like something is missing. You're not doing what I'm used to seeing you doing. You're not being how I'm used to seeing you being. And when you do it for so long, people don't identify you by your name. They identify you by your situation. You don't become Willie, you become blind Willie. You don't become Susie, you become begging Susie. But how many of you know that the Lord will change your repetition, and once he changes your repetition, he changes your reputation, and people won't even be able to call you the same thing they called you before when he relocates you and heals you, unless you find yourself drifting back into Bethsaida. All of us have Bethsaida. I don't know what your Bethsaida is. Bethsaida is that thing you really prayed to get away from. That sin you prayed to be delivered from, that situation. Some of you, Bethsaida is debt. Some of you, Bethsaida is a bad relationship, bad situation, past mistake. There's a thing called euphoric recall as I close. And I know Brother Hubbard knows about this. Euphoric recall is when you take or develop a glamorous perception of a gloomy situation. Israel had euphoric recall. You know, they left Egypt. And as soon as they got to the Red Sea, they said,
it wasn't too bad.
Right? They cross the Red Sea, they get to the bitter waters of Marah. As soon as they get to the bitter waters of Marah, they say, Because there were no, at least in Egypt, we had flesh pot. They start the at least conversation. Anybody ever had that at least conversation? When the Lord moves you from one thing to another and you get to something that demands you to have a little faith, and you have uncertainty, and people end up gravitating to what they're familiar with. That's euphoric recall. And they remembered the flesh pots of Egypt, and they remember the food, but they somehow disconnected from the fact that in Egypt they were slaves.
All right.
Euphoric recall. Right? Some of us end up back in Bethsaida because we've been blind for so long. Everything beyond Bethsaida is new. At least we were used to some things in Bethsaida. Jesus specifically told this man not to go back to Bethsaida. And sometimes when we get out of a situation and we're going along our way and we get to a situation where we got to trust God, we start thinking, at least when I was with him. You know, if I needed the bill paid, he'd do it. Yeah, but you forgot about the black eyes. Euphoric recall. At least when I was with her, I had somebody. I wasn't by myself. I had somebody. Yeah, but you forgot you were just one of the ones. Euphoric recall. Well, at least when I was doing that, we had a good time all the time. So what? We got drunk. So what? We smoked weed. That was for the young people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't front up in this piece, right? But you forgot about the DUI and the police and all of that, because the devil has a way of glamorizing gloom and making it re-attractive so that we go back to the very thing that God delivered us from. Jesus is saying tonight, when I get you out, stay out. Anybody ever been drunk before? Don't answer that. Please don't. For your preacher's sake, don't answer that.